Welcome back to the Arise with Anita podcast. Obviously, I'm Anita, and today we have the beautiful Melody Marisol, and we're going to be discussing the energy of this new moon solar eclipse in Libra that's coming up. So that's a mouthful, and I'm just going to let Melanie take it away to digest what that actually means.
All right. So, hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Marisol, and I am a business astrologer for small business owners to medium enterprise CEOs. I help them find the spiritual meaning behind scaling to multi-million or billion-dollar business. And we're going to go over some astrology that you can use for your day-to-day. You can also use it for business. So, with that said, we are experiencing a new moon. Usually the moon is dark, right? A new moon, it's all blacked out. And that is the invitation to sow seeds, plant intentions, if you will. And then you can release what no longer serves you with the full moon that always occurs around 2 weeks after that. With this new moon solar eclipse in Libra, it is going to be happening on October 14th of this year at 1:55 p.m. on Eastern Time or 10:50 a.m. Pacific Time. So, what that means is we have the astronomical explanation of a solar eclipse. So, we'll go over that first, and then we'll go over the astrological interpretation because we like science and spirituality together as they were intended to be originally. So, astronomically, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon is going between the Earth and the sun, right? So, if the sun is here, and there's the moon. From Earth, we're seeing the moon already blacked out, and there's a light emanating from behind, right? Because the moon has gotten in between the sun and us. So, astrologically, this means a solar eclipse acts as a realignment portal, if you will, where what is no longer aligned cannot help but fall away. So I've heard of the descriptions of this phenomena be like likened to wormholes to the divine, which I thought was kind of gross. I don't really believe in saying that there's portals per se, but basically what it's saying is the solar eclipse is a time that the sun is behind the moon physically, illuminating its own darkness. So it's not so much like a heavy metal moon per se, it's just more of, hey, just so you know, the dark exists, the moon's blocking it out. And then what's going to be happening is we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus on October 28th of 2023. So what that means is the sun will be here, the earth will be here, and then the moon will be over here. So very interesting. What it means is the full moon will not be as illuminated as it could be, right? Because you got the earth blocking the sun's rays. So with that, I've noticed some people say they get scared when eclipse season is coming around. Eclipse season, quote unquote, as if there's something to be afraid of. But I view it as a time of illumination, rebirth. I don't even want to say the word quantum leaping because it's a little bit overused and misunderstood. That's like a physics term. But what it means is actually you could go through some really major growth if you allow yourself to do it, but you got to lean into the cyclical nature of it all, as we described in our full moon in Aries video. So with that, I'll just go over the vibe, and then we'll also explain some planetary stuff that's going on. So as I said before, we are going into that new moon solar eclipse in Libra. Libra, the artist and lover, the zodiac. In the business zodiac, Libra is considered the people person, probably a person that works really well in sales, to be honest. Got to keep the clients and customers happy. And then that's going to be happening on the October 14th. By October 22nd, Mercury, the planet of communication and salesmanship, is going to enter spicy, mysterious Scorpio on October 22nd. And then at the end, there'll be that full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 28th. So I think just that naturally with the interactions of the planets, you have a sign that is really all about balance and fairness, right? And justice, interacting with Mercury going into a very mysterious sign. Scorpio is the alchemist, the shaman of the zodiac, right? So that is very much focused on like death and rebirth. So Mercury from a communication standpoint around that time could be really smart marketing move to communicate your offers, leaning into the weird energy that people are going to be in, right? Halloween's coming up. It'll be spooky season. People are into the macabre. So like lean into it, maybe this is your time to finally indulge in true crime if you feel called. Whatever it is, how can you just lean into the collective flow of just leaning into the dark side? What's going on? Maybe talking about taboo things in your industry. That could be interesting content piece or Instagram live or podcast episode. And then by the time the full moon lunar eclipse is happening in Taurus, you're going to be probably feeling a little exhausted, to be honest. Sometimes like with the moon, when it's illuminated, you can kind of feel like really wiped out during a full moon. So it's a time of aftercare and rest and recalibration because you did all this work during this solar eclipse. And again, of course, from a scientific standpoint, you can't just be staring straight into an eclipse. I don't want you to go blind. So be smart about it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we learned this in elementary school, but I'll just repeat it again. I don't want anyone getting hurt. And as if anybody really needed more proof that astrology is real, I recently purchased the Farmer's Almanac for next year. Okay. It's a whopping $10. And they explain here that it's weather forecast for 18 regions of the United States. And it covers literally here at the very bottom, the sun, moon, and stars and planets. So I'm trying to show it on my camera. So yeah, it's all right here. Farmers actually use moon cycles and low-key use astrology, even if they aren't actually saying it. So I just think it's a very interesting thing to consider. For anybody that might feel like they are getting crucified by the family because they believe in astrology, you can just direct them to the Farmer's Almanac. And finally, I will end with the new moon. The general affirmation to get you through it is, I work to co-create harmonious relationships by first identifying how to be in self-harmony. So again, picking up from the full moon in Aries video that we did as well. Full moon in Aries was all about rising above the polarity that surrounds you so that you can identify your role within it. So again, here we are in Aries opposite, which is Libra. Aries is all about asserting and wanting to be like, this is me, this is my identity. Libra is like, how can everyone get along? And how can we do this in a healthy, non-people pleasing way and not promoting codependence? So with that, you are working to co-create harmonious relationships by first identifying how to be in self-harmony first. And just because you prioritize this particular affirmation does not mean you are spiritually bypassing. If you want to learn more about that, you can watch the full moon in Aries video.
Amazing. Okay. So one thing that really struck me about just the energy of eclipse season, especially the way you were describing it, is I think it's a really great kind of metaphor for actually looking at the duality that we face on this planet. So where there is dark, there is light. It's always been that way. It will always be that way. That's just a truth. So there is no need to fear the darkness that eclipse season is bringing, because if you really look at it, when you go into this work and you cultivate that self-harmony, you're actually bringing out your own lightness. So it becomes a beautiful metaphor for the duality and the harmony that actually exists on planet Earth, which is, if you're watching this, where you incarnated.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So with that, we can get into the horoscopes. But yes, I will also add, duality is not negative. Having two sides of a binary is not negative. We need to have those two opposing poles. Even from a geological perspective, like we have the North and South Pole. If we didn't have that, we'd spin into nowhere. And what is life? You know what I mean? Like, you need to have these poles that are the opposite of each other. So the solution isn't like, oh, I'm non-binary or something, for example. It's, okay, great. How can I balance the masculine and feminine energy, the masculine and feminine poles that are in everyone, right? How can we don't always have to be transcending duality either, and we don't have to get bogged down in the mire of duality. So again, how do we have that balance? How do we lean into Libra, who's all about balance, Libra is the only inanimate object on the zodiac. It is symbolized by the scales. So, how do we maintain those scales of fairness and justice while also not getting caught up in the vitriol? And also, I'll be honest, I'm going to call anybody out here calling themselves a starseed. I am not one. I looked it up astrologically. I don't have any of the placements for it, but I will tell you this. You do not come to this planet to just be transcending out of everything. Not all the time. Like, you need to also be in the physical body. That's why you're here. So, level up, clean it up. Do not spiritually bypass, and do not use that as a shield for not actually doing the work that you need to be doing. And brand. Okay. So, Anita, are you ready to go through each of the zodiac signs?
I am ready, but I love the minimal call out we had over there. Again, take what you hear on this podcast with a grain of salt. If it does not resonate with you, great. If it does, great. We are here to just serve in the highest way possible. And it doesn't mean that every moment is going to be something that you necessarily like. So, just a small disclaimer.
Right. All right. So, for anyone watching, thank you so much for watching us. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. If you like what we're saying, please hit the subscribe button below and the notification bell, if you will, so you can notify when we drop new episodes. We do it twice a month. And with that, we have the Aries sun, moon, and risings. Of course, you can always check your own personal sign. There will be timestamps as well. So, starting off, we have Aries sun, moon, and risings. So you're going to be experiencing a refresh around your relationships. This includes friendships and partnerships, which also include business and romantic partnerships as well. So relationships and relating is the theme for Aries and moon and risings for this new moon solar eclipse. So maybe this is the best time to call in the romance you've always wanted. It's also a poignant time to call in your dream business partnerships or joint ventures as well. It's the time to plant the seeds, set the intention, and be ready. You never know with the solar eclipse energy. It could light the way to a really awesome connection beyond what your brain or your mind can think of. Be open to the divine.
I think the biggest thing I'm getting called to mention on this one is just really being open. Open for whatever type of relationships want to enter your space right now. Could be romantic, could be friendship. Either way, being open to that energy, being open to experiencing new things, and being open for just a new vibration, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, open up safely to the new possibilities. All right, so we have Taurus, sun, moon, and risings now. You're going to be feeling a refresh around your daily routines and rituals. So, removing any daily morning routines or evening routines that are stagnant, leaning into this kind of weird energy. I will also share here as well. We also have Mercury opposing Chiron during this solar eclipse, yet the moon is conjunct Mercury. So, what it means is Mercury is opposing Chiron, the archetype of the wounded healer. Very sensitive. And at the same time, the moon is conjunct or on top of Mercury. So it's like a good time to communicate, but also very sensitive time to communicate. So for this is especially true for Taurus, sun, moon, and risings because you might also feel a refresh, or like maybe a pressure from your HR department during this new moon as your employee relations may be tested. So this is not about a push or pull situation, but it's just energy being expressed. So how can you create loving structure for yourself first before you extend the same structure and fairness to your employees? So again, we're having refresh of the daily routines, daily rituals, daily work routines for your employees, and also employee relations. That is the theme.
And I don't know why there's just a major call here to really watch how you're communicating, how you're saying what you need to say. Are you taking into account that the person you might be speaking to is an actual human and not an AI bot? So again, not to call Taurus out, but I'm going to call you out. You can tend to be very headstrong, and when you are communicating, sometimes it comes off literally that bolt energy of like, You're not listening to me. So how can you maybe tone that down to, okay, I want to communicate this with you, but how can I do it without attacking you while getting my point across? Just something
Mm,
to consider here.
yeah, be calm, be appreciative of people that are working for you as well. But you're doing this because you already, again, refreshed your daily routines and rituals. So you're going in with a clear head. You're not letting your emotions run the show, right? All right. So we have Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So you're going to feel a rush of creative self-expression through your being during this new moon solar eclipse. So as a Gemini, you're usually flitting about, constantly learning and interacting with others of opposing viewpoints. Gemini sometimes gets a bad rep of being devil's advocate, but it's really just because Gemini is all about multiple perspectives. So during this new moon solar eclipse, you are attempting to balance your cosmic reporting with your need for creative self-expression and showing up as authentically you. So I feel like Gemini can do this pretty easily. Again, they got that devil's advocate kind of vibe to them, and they could be a shit starter. But for the most part, with this is more of a focus on, hey, you do all this, spend all this time cosmic reporting, getting the facts, getting multiple perspectives. What is it that you really want to do? How can you take this time? Because you never know, by taking time to separate from work and focus on the hobbies or things that you enjoy for fun, it actually might open a new gateway for career or opportunities or relationships. So cultivating that time and space for your inner child to express.
I don't know why. So, interestingly enough, with this one, I'm just getting a wave of how are these new perspectives something that you can either internally challenge. So, don't go out here getting argumentative with people, but maybe how can you internally challenge them? Do they sit right with you? Do they feel right for you? And if they do, how can you implement them? Maybe you're learning something that you want to actually put into your day-to-day practice or put into your business. How can you start taking these actions and turning them into implementation and not just an idea?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. Moving on, we have Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So you might be experiencing a cleansing wave of emotions, helping you clear out the energy in your home, your nest, your sanctuary. You might also be hit with sudden clarity and insight into how your family functions and its intergenerational dynamics. So this could be a time of great clarity. Cleaning house, if you will, despite the fact that it's a new moon, it can be a little intense, right? So how can you clear house? um, Maybe clean up your relationships with those closest to you, and how can you cultivate a sense of sanctuary within your home first, so that way when you go home from work or working in your business, you're feeling a sense of rejuvenation and refreshment versus stress when you go back outside to deal with people in the real world. So how can you again allow that energy to flow, and what kind of energy do you want to call into your home?
So for me, what's really jumping out is how can you incorporate joy into your day, into your life? What is something that actually brings you joy? And how can you start feeling more of that emotion? And subsequently, if you're not feeling joy, just paying attention to what actions are leading to those feelings.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. We have our Leo, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So yeah, this is a really great time for a rebrand. This can either be personally, just in general, new moon, new you, or it can be a social media one. Maybe a reimagining of your message. Maybe reviving your YouTube channel that you started. Uh, Instead of doing YouTube channel because it's not lighting you up, maybe podcasting is a thing. Whatever it is that you can share your opinion and people listen, lean into that and do it. This is also a time, since Leo generally is all about self-expression anyway, it's a good time to do an audit on your social media or your website. Is it reflecting who you want to work with and who you actually are? Is it reflecting your unique, true essence? Additionally, the sun is the ruler of Leo. So with solar eclipse, maybe you might feel a little bit wiped out. Either way, that's okay. Be gentle with yourself. But while you're just laying there, is there something you can do that you've been meaning to do? And it only takes like a few minutes. You can just get it done, right? How can you rest and also continue to live? I've encountered a lot of people that claim that they are all about the stars and whatnot, but as soon as an eclipse happens, they're like dead to the world. But if you're running a business, you got to show up, right? So again, how can you refresh and infuse this energy with a new refresh or rebrand, a new version of self-expression?
How can you have more clarity?
Mm.
So it's not just about changing the images or changing your messaging, but how can you have clarity in what it is you actually want to do? Especially if you are specifically a manifesting generator in human design. How can you bring a little more clarity and focus into what it is you're implementing so you're not necessarily being in that constant energy of just floating? How can we bring some groundedness into that where you're actually able to stay put to work on that business or work on yourself?
Right. Right. All right. Moving on, we have Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So you're going to be experiencing a refresh, some illumination in your relationship to your values, how you build wealth, and how you experience true embodiment. So Virgo is very much all about working. They're considered the workaholic consultant in the business zodiac. And Virgo is all about maintaining the physical body and organization and efficiency, right? So how can you apply the same things that you do to your body every day to your finances? Again, making those loving structures. It's very interesting. Between this new moon and last full moon, we've been talking a lot about loving self-discipline and structure. So this is not about being bogged down by strict routines and miserable feelings. It's more of container, like making containment. So, for example, masculine containment acts as a container so that feminine energy can like whoosh around and be ridiculous, right? So again, it's not so much like boxing you in, it's more of providing that basis, that structure, that foundation so that you can thrive. So how do you view your relationship with money? What are your values? And how do you feel about building wealth that's not just cash money, but also in other ways as well, like your health, your mental agility, your general mobility, your friendships, right? How can you apply all that structure to finances and your own version of wealth?
So I'm just going to go ahead and piggyback since you got into that aspect of wealth. True wealth at its form is actually not just finances, but to Melanie's point, it is the combination of time, having the freedom and the ability to do what you want when you want, having the health, having the prominent relationships, taking care and nurturing those relationships. It is time for your soul, time for your spirituality, time to give back, contribution. So the true wealth is not just how can I have more in my pocket, but it's truly about how can I have a well balanced, I don't even really like the word, but well integrated life where all areas are being met and I feel a sense of connection and purpose behind the things I'm doing. And going back to our last video, the more structure and the loving discipline you implement, the more you're able to have that creative flow because you have a container for it. It gives you this ability to run with the ideas. We're not saying if, especially as a business owner, if you're sticking to something, don't, if you want that container, you don't necessarily have to be stuck to an idea or stuck to a concept. But by at least implementing this structure, if you have something, you can flow into that as well. But you want to kind of gear on the side of caution of again, kind of like that manifesting generator energy. And I'm calling this specific human design type out because I have experience with it. Of just sometimes you need to place a little bit of focus, just a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. So take out the judgment from that. Take out the feeling of what structure feels like as being bogged down. And maybe it's time to look at it as really just trying to envelope the dance between the masculine and the feminine energies.
I agree. With that, we're moving into Libra, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So this is going to be a solar eclipse illuminating a refresh and a rebirth to your physical body, right? So this is kind of almost like new moon, new you energy. So this is more of referring to the physical body, maybe like the identities that you embody, but I'm feeling more about the physical. So again, we have Libra season, your season Libra. I'm a Libra sun as it is. So you're a social butterfly as it is. So how can you infuse physical exercise into your daily life so you don't run yourself ragged? A Libra is all about people pleasing. Shadow aspects is people pleasing or codependence. Wanting to make sure everyone's happy, but are you taking care of yourself first? So with this solar eclipse, it might be illuminating your tendency to put yourself last. So how can you put yourself first? Again, it's not really selfish to put yourself first. When it comes to physical self-care, there's nothing wrong with that. Putting yourself first is selfish as if you're like, stomping over someone to get what you want and you're making it a really weird competition. In this case, this is more of a self-care, physical exercise. You're in demand as it is. People like having you around. But actually, how can you discern and say no to some opportunities for socializing because you also need to recharge? So again, Libra's all about the balance, all about socializing. But how can you have the physical strength built first so that you can maintain it?
I'm going to go ahead and just encourage you to get some rest. I feel like rest can be very overlooked with Libras. So also while you're in this energy of going ahead and doing all the things, how can you make sure you're getting that proper sweet spot of sleep for you? And taking it to the self-care of not only what you're actually doing to maintain and like move, but also maybe it's also time to look at the self-care of how do I slow down in order to speed up?
Yes. Slow down for a moment so you can speed up so you can keep being in demand and being awesome, right? All right. So for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Risings, you're going to have your subconscious mind illuminated during this new moon solar eclipse. So what are the deepest, darkest parts of your psyche that you either haven't looked at in a while or actually never looked at? The solar eclipse will be illuminating that. So what are some unhelpful thoughts or beliefs that are not helping you get to your next level? What are some ways in which you might be self-sabotaging yourself? What are some things that you can look at, face it head on in a loving, gentle way, so that by the time Mercury enters your sign as well in a few days, you can really capitalize on the energy there, and you can come from a more healed space so that you can naturally attract your soul contracted clients.
I'm also going to say, I'm getting the push to just remind people that this would probably be a good time for you, for Scorpios in particular, to look at breath work because, and this is not, you don't have to do it with me. Let me just clarify this right now. But breath work being a practice could be very helpful here because a lot of times with our subconscious, we are not always aware of the things that are necessarily holding us back. So with a practice that's like breath work, where it's somatic, where you're able to get into a more of a contact with that subconscious brain of yours, you will find that if you set the correct intention, you will find the hidden belief that is actually stopping you. So by doing that, you will be able to put your finger on, oh, I didn't know that. I have a belief that making money is hard because I didn't grow up with a father in my home, or whatever that version of that belief might be for you. And again, because it's not in your conscious brain, you're not always going to pick it up. So it doesn't have to be breath work, but any type of somatic practice that can actually tap into your subconscious, maybe for you, it's hypnosis, would be a good thing to kind of implement to unveil what's going on there, what's still in your energy.
Right. So this is not so much, I guess you could say there's might be some full moon energy here where you might have to release some things, but this is more of an illumination first, and then it gives you the tools to release. All right. With that, we have Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So you might be feeling kind of a refresh, a rebrand, if you will, surrounding your life's work and your career. It might be asking you, hey, what you're doing right now, is that currently the true legacy that you're born to leave behind? So again, maybe you might be illuminated to look at something different. Maybe there's a pivot in your career path that might be really interesting and fulfilling to you. So if that's the case, what's going on? Do you like what you're doing? And if not, how can you pivot to get to where you want to be?
I think for them in specific, it's also important to look at what creative outlets you're having in your day-to-day life. Not necessarily from a career standpoint. However, I do notice that Sagittarius tend to be a little more on the creative side. So what outlets are you allowing yourself? And do you low-key have like a dream that you've been denying of yourself because you want it to be realistic?
Right. And with that, can you lean into the groups and community that you're so good at getting, right? So Sagittarius is all about travel. It's all about building bridges between seemingly disparate groups. So how can you lean into people that are kind of already doing what you want to be doing? Or you are trying to connect with people that you know can support you. Like lean into that energy. All right. So just as Cancer was engaging in domicile behavior, focusing on the home and the nest. Capricorn also is experiencing legacy and also, status review. So Capricorn generally is always striving for a long-term vision and status, also associated with luxury. As Capricorn is an earth sign and does like the finer things, nothing shameful about that. But in your pursuit of material possessions and luxury goods, what is behind all that? You know what I mean? Like, say you want some designer bag. Do you bother to look into how it was made? Do you care about who is actually making these items that you're busting your butt for? What is their quality of life as they're making this designer bag for you? What about the animals that were, consumed to create this designer bag, for example? What is the mark that you're here to be leaving on the earth, right? And when it comes to your striving for the finer things or luxury, that's great. But maybe this could be a time to, I'd say, reinvent or reimagine a life of what true legacy or true luxury is. Just because it's a designer brand doesn't necessarily mean it's designer level anymore. So a lot of European fashion houses have outsourced overseas. So is it really a luxury brand? Is it really a premium brand? If you investigate, you might find that's not the case anymore. So maybe is there a smaller designer you could support? If you like luxury as a concept, but you don't like the ego attached to it, how can you reimagine a luxury that you wish to see?
I'm also getting the tap of really looking into what you're leaving generationally. So, not necessarily in the aspect of luxury, but just, are you leaving homes? Are you leaving X amount of dollars per child? What does that look like for you? Maybe reevaluating what it is you're working for and why.
All right. So moving on, we have Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So you're going to be experiencing a renewed sense of your personal philosophy, the values that comprise your personal manifesto in life. So as an Aquarius, you're already kind of a futuristic leader. So Aquarius generally is very futuristic, really into technology, very focused on hopes, dreams, and wishes for the collective. So I think sometimes Aquarius gets a bad rap because it's considered like the alien of the zodiac and like otherworldly. So with that, maybe you are a starseed, as I've said earlier. For real, you really are. And you don't really like the way Earth is operating. Okay, this is a new moon, solar eclipse. Things are getting illuminated. So, what are your personal beliefs? What are your personal values? How do you view the world? And actually, how can you communicate that to other people to buy into your vision? What is your manifesto? And how can you share that with the world to get people to buy in? This is not about promoting a shady cult. I was actually just watching a video today about cults versus startups. So sometimes people claim that there's not too much of a difference. But for this is you exploring what is your truth. And maybe how can you write it or publish it in a sacred text? How can you get people to get on board? So it's not so much like you're controlling them to live out your vision, right? But how can you build that community around it by discerning what are your values and your spiritual truths first?
I'm also getting the nudge to really looking at what it is you're really believing, your philosophies around life, how it has to be. Um, does it work for you? If not, maybe shift those, or at least acknowledge them at the very least that it's not something that's working, and then look for a way of maintaining that assistance or that modality that's going to be best for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And finally, we have Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So again, Pisces and Scorpio is kind of an intense moon here for you. So you're going to be feeling a type of illumination around the taboos that you don't wish to face. This could also be transformation around debt, business loans, maybe merging with someone else, like a business partnership. So despite the fact that this sounds really heavy, it could actually be a really good thing. You might be connected to someone that wants to help invest in your company, for example. So how can you kind of clean up the cobwebs that are floating around in the darkness of your psyche so that you can welcome in opportunities maybe for exponential financial growth, or maybe exponential intrapersonal growth. So growth from within. Maybe there is a natural death and rebirth cycle that you need to lean into. So how can you lean into that cyclical nature, but also open yourself up to even more amazing possibilities? Or as someone said earlier, I've read that new moon solar eclipse is like a wormhole to the divine. So I guess how can you cultivate that deeper intimacy with the divine during this new moon solar eclipse in Libra?
I think the biggest thing for me is just, again, what you believe is so, so critical. So, what you believe about money, wealth, do you even believe that you deserve it? And if so, what are you doing to actually obtain it on a real life level? And actually, another thing I'm really getting pulled to kind of like mention is, are you used to surviving? And how can you go ahead and think of what thriving looks for like for you?
Right. I think to succeed as an actual business owner, you can't be in survival mode. So I've worked for and with small business owners that are operating the same way in year 7 as they did in year 1, which I don't think is really that great. It's not really showing that you've been growing or that you developed any systems. And there's nothing more depressing than working for or with somebody that doesn't have a vision, and does not view life beyond survival mode. So we're breaking that. We're ending all of that, right? Pisces is a challenging sun, moon, and rising sign because it just wants to love everybody and, like dissolve into nothingness. But again, we are in the 3D. We're here. So we got to master that money situation, master that debt situation. I'm calling my own self out. I'm a Pisces moon, but it's more of understanding that debt can actually be a good thing as well, as long as you leverage it responsibly and you know what's going on. So again, educate yourself so that you can open yourself up to better opportunities.
And with that, it was just a reminder. Again, it's always crucial to have a vision. This goes for any and every zodiac sign, but having a vision for your life, for your health, for your wealth, for your friendships, your relationships, having that vision is so critical because, again, not to get biblical, but without a vision, people perish. What does that really mean? If you no longer have a vision for your life, what is the point of you continuing to live?
Mm-hmm.
And so taking that on a actual level of, if I don't have any vision for my life, that means that anything and everything will apply. I will literally be able to be swayed by the circumstances, by the environment. So it gets
Mm-hmm.
back to that focus of you yourself can create your own personal reality by actually starting off with what is a vision and what is my values.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's true. So nothing wrong with getting biblical. There's a lot of wisdom in this sacred text. It's just been co-opted by shady people over the past 2,000 years. But with that, we will end the horoscopes. That's all I have to report on this cosmic dispatch.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your time. I think this was very insightful for all of our listeners. And again, if you guys are interested in hearing more from us, please subscribe and comment down below. We'd love to have you in our community. And if you have any questions, both of us will be reachable in our comments section. So just feel free to let us know. And again, Melanie, um, what are your current offers? How can people connect with you more? Please give us all the deets.
All right. So anyone can find me at melaniemarisol.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn with Melanie Marisol. I'm the only one there. And you can also find me on Instagram at Melanie_Marisol. And I also offer my 2 signature readings. So the first one is the Divine Assignment and Legacy Building reading, 90 minutes long with lifetime access. And we are going to cover what is the legacy that you're born to leave behind. What is your divine assignment? What's your soul mission? This is really intended for the small business owner to medium enterprise CEO that's doing very well materially and financially, but is in a spiritual seeking place. I also offer the Aligned Abundance reading that is also 90 minutes long with lifetime access. This is for the modern mystic, the fellow visionary, such as myself, and other established healers that are very focused on what I need to do to build cash money. We're going to check out your money asteroids. We're going to check out Jupiter, the planet of good luck, expansion, and abundance. And we're also going to check out Venus, the planet of love, beauty, art, and money, what people like to pay you for. We're going to see which areas of life that it's easiest to channel money, whereas some might be more challenging. But that way, it's a practical roadmap. I don't do airy-fairy readings. This is very practical, and they're both intended to be deepened with knowledge with each re-listen. So again, you can sign up for any of those readings in the description box below and also in the comments.
Amazing. Well, if you are looking for a coach or you need some support, you can find me on my Calendly right now. My website is still currently in reconstruction, but by our next video, it should be all up and running. And we will be able to see how we can best serve you. I have breathwork sessions, coaching sessions, and I even do sessions that are a combination of the two. So we would start off with a breathwork practice and lead you into actual tangible coaching at the end of it so that we could see, first off, what blocks are coming up, but second off, what can we do to implement some changes in your life and make it actually tangible. For right now, I am offering 2 different coaching sessions, one-off sessions, which is the Find Your Purpose why did I almost say reading? Woof. Coaching session, which is all about basically finding your purpose, finding what lights you up, finding what actually feels like you're meant to be doing with your life experiences thus far, with how you're able to serve. And secondly, it is the Find Your Voice session, which is going to be cultivating all about the energy of just finding who you want to be in this world, finding your own place and maybe finding how you can start putting yourself first. So if you're looking for a coaching partnership, I would be so honored to serve you. And you can check out the Calendly link in the box below to go ahead and book a session. Or if you have any additional questions, you are also able to book a 15-minute discovery call with myself, and we can hash out some details. Or if you just want to go ahead and message me, you can message me on Instagram or Facebook. The links will be in the box below. But again, until our next full moon reading, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please like, comment, subscribe, and we just truly are honored to serve you.